Hello. I'm reading through my comments recently. After the Ibuki, the next most requested ship by far is the Izumo, which I consider possibly one of the ugliest looking battleships in the entire game. But ultimately, it still has these insane AP shells, which do a ton of damage and have great penetration. So I will never actually consider the Izumo that weak. I don't think I've ever actually considered the Izumo weak. In fact, I in general have a hard time considering any high tier battleship weak, simply because if you play them correctly, the sheer firepower that these ships have always makes them viable. The combination of range and pure damage that you can pump out in a battleship is what ultimately makes pretty much every single one viable. Now my Izumo here is stock. I ended up on Ocean, and I'm against the IO Izumo, whatever. Those are probably the biggest threats, plus the Kagero and whatever else. So my ship is entirely stock. I don't have the speed, the range, or any of the hull upgrades, but it doesn't really stop the Izumo, because even the stock ship, you get great range. I think 19.7 is the stock range, which is fantastic. I obviously use the reload upgrade to reduce my reload from 30 to 26.4 seconds, I think it is. So I got a good rate of fire, and these guns of course are massive, which is one of the huge things about the Izumo that people tend to underestimate. Now the firing arcs aren't the best, but then again you should only be using all three turrets. Well, actually I will be demonstrating this better. Of course Pensacola, I hit him instantly. Citadel. In general, if you shoot all those 9 shells at a cruiser showing broadside, especially if you predict his path correctly, then you will either do significant damage or pretty much Citadel them, because cruisers are quite easy to punish. Here we have a rune showing sailing broadside wise. I think he's turning, but I kind of predicted his turn, so I don't think he'll turn fast enough considering it is a rune. Nope, he hit the Citadel as well. My last turret also hit him a couple times, 1 overpen and 1 normal hit, whatever. It's the Citadel that's the most important, since those are of course your main source of damage, because heavy hitting AP shells, you want to be getting those Citadels to get the full potential of the damage in. Now you notice I'm angling away. The Izumo, while angled, is very strong, but if giving broadside, it's actually quite squishy. So I'm angling away. Another Citadel, it was the Mogami, I think, another very squishy cruiser, which of course, if you get the chance to shoot at cruisers, that's something I always prefer doing, since I'm fairly good at predicting where they're sailing. So I always take that opportunity to inflict some significant damage on the enemy, as well as, of course, getting me a nice chunk of XP and money. The next target is, I actually shot 2 turrets there without having the Prince Eugen targeted there, so my dispersion is going to be pretty terrible, I think, and it's unlikely I'll be hitting much. Yeah, as expected. Actually, Bounce 2, I think I might have even hit the battleship behind him or something similar. Now you notice I'm angling away when I want to use all the three turrets, because I don't really want to get close while using all 3, because it forces me to show a lot of broadside, which means I'm very vulnerable. But the Izumo does have other strengths. Most noticeably, it doesn't really have much of a superstructure. It pretty much has the towers, but that's it. It has the towers in the middle. There's little other superstructure to shoot at. In fact, spamming German battleships with HE and AP in cruisers and DDs and such is significantly easier than it is shooting the Izumo. There's really not much to shoot. It's really surprisingly big strength to not have any superstructure, because it makes HE spam, it makes low caliber AP spam, it makes all these things significantly less effective against you. And that's of course a huge advantage of the Izumo. Oh, he was much slower. Actually he turned in as well, so that made my volley miss completely. Or he might have even been paying attention, as shockingly as it sounds. There are in fact cruiser players out there who pay attention to your shells. I kinda ignored the Pensacola once he got spotted. He was dead anyway, so it wasn't worth wasting my salvos on. Rune, he's turning slightly away. Did I predict his path? I don't think did I predict it? Nah, not barely short, But I'm not really taking too many hits. Honestly, I'm staying far enough away, because unlike with other battleships that I like to push in very aggressively, the Izumo isn't really that well suited for it, especially in the start. Later on in the game you can push rather aggressively, but I mean, you want to keep this comfortable distance in general. Of course, you might notice that there are some battleships, there's still battleships behind me. I have a Colorado, I have a Elba, I have Tirpitz. All of them are further back than I am. So my concept of sitting further away might be different from the average players. I mean, I am 12 kilometers away from the Bismarck. Of course, they also notice that I'm the closest battleship and I'm fairly close, so they start focusing me. So this is where I just decided to take the usual Izumo timeout. That's pretty much what I call it. You angle in, you pretend your third turret doesn't exist, and you only start using your front two turrets. You see, I'm completely angled against them all, and I'm basically pretending like the third turret doesn't exist. I'm a two-turret battleship now, and I start reversing. And there's not really much people can do against you. You see, these are battleships shooting me, cruisers, AP, battleships left, right and center. Damage isn't really that big of a deal at all. I'll have no issues healing all this back. And they quickly realize that shooting at this completely angled Izumo, the way I'm angled, really doesn't net them any damage at all, so they stopped firing at me. I basically took that small timeout, I stopped reversing, because I'm no longer being shot at, and it's time to speed up and continue pushing again. And that's something I recommend you do every now and then, because it's good to make people lose interest in you. It's good to demoralize them when they shoot at your battleship and they realize they do 0 damage because you're angled, and they're like, oh fuck, shooting this guy, let's pick another target instead. And I've already done significant amount of damage, and there's still guys behind me, so it's not like it was a big deal to take the time out. It just saved me a lot of unnecessary damage that I could have taken. However, giving me a significant amount of broadside. You see, once now I'm back again to using the third turret. But when you start taking heavy damage, it's always a good thing to remember that you can at any time pretty much go into tank mode. That's kind of what it feels like. You go into tank mode. Yes, you lose 33% of your gun power, but you gain a shit ton of survivability. And every now and then it's good to take that time out, especially if you're uncertain what you want to do, if you think the situation might be dangerous. There are plenty of options that might be the reason. Then just go into tank mode. Take that tactical Izumo timeout, angle fully in, just use your 2 guns and decide on what you want to do as a game plan. In this case, my game plan is I want to continue keeping this angle where I'll keep a fairly large distance to all those guys further towards A, while at the same time closing the distance with this Izumo and this Bismarck that are pretty much caught down here, stranded in fact. So that's my plan. Now I don't want to use all 3 guns on this Bismarck because that would force me to give such massive broadside to everyone that it would probably get me punished. So once again, I kind of angle in and I go into tank mode again, and I start dealing just with this Bismarck. Of course, that doesn't stop me from using the third turret to shoot at something else. Just because you're not using it to shoot at your main gun or your main target doesn't mean you can can't use it to take pot shots at cruisers and stuff. I mean, you could get a lucky citadel or something at long range, or could just get lucky damage at long range. Whatever. Might as well use it since you have it. But of course, my main target is finishing this Bismarck, because getting rid of him in front of me allows me more safety in angling. Kagero spotted, I instantly call target on him, and because I use AFT on this captain, you can see my secondaries are already opening up on him, even though it is a stock Izumo. Now, secondaries aren't that big of a deal, but it's worth mentioning. Of course, I shoot at him myself. This is something battleship captains for some reason often neglect, but I always tell them, even if you have AP loaded, shoot at the goddamn DDs, because if you land multiple shells, well, then you absolutely obliterate him. So it's worth taking those shots. So that was a Kagero deleted, so what could have been in fact a huge threat to me turned out to be a nice chunk of XP. Thank you very much. And of course I continue my same angling. I never ever give the full broadside. I'm constantly pushing towards them. That's always the plan, pushing towards the enemy. But unlike with other battleships where you can be very aggressive in your pushing, with the Izumo you kind of want to take your time, and whenever you start getting focused, that's when you want to turn into your timeout. Oh, hello. Well, that's what you get. Rune gave me full broadside, so of course I punished him, double citadel, and a devastating strike on him. Something you should never do. I always tell cruisers not to do it, but even in high tier, people keep giving me those juicy broadsides. So, who am I to argue? I'll take that gift happily. Nuremberg, now that's a squishy cruiser. I don't mind if I take a pot shot at him. Yeah, there's not really too many threats on this side. The Izumo is angled. You see how angled I am against the Izumo. The Izumo can't really get good shots at me. So the only people I'm really showing broadside to here, the biggest threat is the Iowa. The rest are just like cruisers and stuff. I'm angled against the biggest threat, but I'm using my guns on the squishies. And that's something you want to keep in mind, like, angle the ship is so tanky, so make use of it. Turn that tank side towards your foes and use your guns against the squishies. That's how you want to, in general, be sailing this ship or utilizing this unique setup it has. And of course, going into tank mode every now and then is a good idea, because that's something you'll be doing on the Yamato quite often as well. Sometimes on the Yamato it's just time to pretend like your back turret doesn't exist, and it's time to just start using the front turrets and just bow in tank. Oh, gotta start turning hard right. Now the stock rudder shift is actually quite terrible on this ship, so that's another reason why I like having, you see that I like having these scouts around me. I don't really push without proper scouting, since I know they have a lot of DDs, and I take my time and I don't YOLO into some unnecessary torps for no reason at all. Oh, New Mexico, hello. I think this ship might actually be so small. I don't know if I can hit him. I'm not getting the best dispersion there. Not really the best hits. Overpens, in fact. How the hell did the New Mexico end up in this game, by the way? He must have... What did he queue up with? Oh, he queued up with the Colorado. Wow, so he queued up with the Colorado, and the Colorado got thrown into some lovely matchmaking, and he's the one who has to suffer now. Poor dude. I wonder if he can, like, even do any damage to me. Consider I'm giving him a lot of broadside. Really not a fun situation. You see the Izumo in the front? I haven't even really bothered with him, because he's angled just like I am. So I already know that he is insanely tanky with this angling. So why would I bother wasting my shells and my time and all the potential damage I can inflict on other targets? Why would I waste all that on something I already know is incredibly resistant to all that damage? Rather, I'd just take pot shots at the other target that I see around here. Now, this is a bit unfortunate, actually. I think killing this guy is going to end the game. And I kinda don't want that, because, well, only 12 minutes have passed and I'm still 60k HP, I still have 3 heals. I'm as healthy as happy as can be, and the game ends. God damn it. Oh well, turns out this will be a bit shorter commentary with the stock Izumo. Ultimately I ended up doing 196,000 damage, which for a battleship, well, for a stock battleship I think it's nice. Nice amount of credits and XP, topped the scoreboard of course by quite a significant margin. And overall the damage you can see, well, most primary targets, Rune, Bismarck, Gero, Iowa. Honestly, I didn't even do much damage to the New Mexico because it was so small and squishy. Anyway, I'll be moving on to my recommended build and captain perks. Right, starting off as usual. Well, I haven't really unlocked anything yet, but looking at the stats on this, I think I don't really need range. I think the range is just fine. The speed is only 0.8 knots, so that's not really much of an upgrade. So I'll probably go for the hull, since it gives me AA and secondaries. Two things that I kinda really want. I mean, secondary is not really that big of a deal, but AA is nice and definitely more valuable, but then some range that I don't need and such a small amount of speed. And I think, wait, does this give a rudder shift? Oh, you only get rudder shift at the C hull. Well, then I'm gonna go B hull, C hull, and once I have those, then I'll probably get the range, and then I'll get the speed upgrade. God knows how long that will take, since I don't really play the Izumo too much. Consumable-wise, I always recommend premium repair and heal. Upgrade-wise, of course, main armaments mod, aiming systems mod, you want to reduce that dispersion. And here, of course, the 3 million upgrade, I highly recommend reduced reload time, since you want to be able to use that gun power, especially useful when you go into tank mode, as I call it. Well, you know what I mean when I say go into tank mode on the Izumo now. And of course, damage control. Here I use damage control. I mean, there's some argument that rudder shift could be quite strong, since it's so garbage by stock. But honestly, I really like, when I go into tank mode, I like having that to reduce the fire damage. And finally, concealment, because I use a concealment captain as well to get my concealment down to 14.5, because I think concealment is one of the best builds for T10 battleships in general. Basics of survivability, expert marksman, superintendent, AFT, and concealment expert, of course, and the last 3 points will be going into vigilance for my usual T10 battleship build. That's my 18-point battleship build. Now there's no argument that you could use manual AA. In fact, on a stock ship, manual AA is probably stronger. With the C hull, yeah, with C hull I think manual AA, B hull, C hull I think manual AA is in fact stronger. But on the Yamato it becomes fairly even, and of course if it's even, the one thing that tips it in the favor of AFT is the secondaries, because AFT of course boosts both, whereas manual AA only boosts the anti-air. Anyway, that was my Izumo commentary. I hope you guys enjoyed it.